Welcome to the Deconstructing Data broadcast and podcast. I'm Jessie Lezak, fractional CMO at BDEX, and today we're joined by BDEX's Enterprise Sales Director, Adam Fitzgerald again. Good to see you, Adam. What's new and how was Programmatic I/O?
Hey, great to see you as well, Jesse. Programmatic I/O was wonderful. Just got back this morning on the red eye, but there were a lot of great sessions, a lot of great speakers, and it was just a wonderful time to connect with others in our industry. And so I'm really excited, and it's great to be with you here this afternoon and everybody else that's listening in.
Absolutely. Great to have you back, and thanks for making it happen despite being on a red eye. And today we are lucky to have a really awesome guest, and we're thrilled to welcome him on. He is doing a number of things. So if you get a chance, go look him up on Google, because we'll only be covering a fraction of the businesses that he works with. But he is the CEO of Zebra Advertisement and Human Data Intelligence. And as our esteemed guest on this episode of Deconstructing Data, he's also Rocco Baldassarre. I'm going to bring him in here in just a moment, but he's a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree and a recognized leader in digital marketing. He brings an expertise in leveraging data, AI, and machine learning to transform business strategies and outcomes. Not only that, so he's also involved with a lot of the stuff we talk on here, with a history of pioneering work in PPC, social media, and e-commerce. Rocco's insights are really invaluable for anyone looking to stay ahead in the fast-paced world. And what I learned pre-show is that Rocco moved here, I believe he said 8 years ago, from Italy. So welcome to the show, Rocco.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Jesse and Adam. It's a pleasure being here today.
Rocco, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And maybe you can kind of kick us off and get us started by telling us a little bit about your story and what led you to become the CEO of Zebra Advertisement among the other hats that you get to wear.
That's an interesting story because I started my adventure, so to say, in college. I started my college in Italy, moved to Boston for my second bachelor, and by the time I was done, I went back to Italy, and all the jobs that were available were all jobs with no future, really, working as a teller at the bank or working in finance. But working in finance in Italy is not like working in finance in the US. And I didn't have no US passport, so I couldn't just move back here and work. So my decision was to decide whether I wanted to get started in marketing or in finance. You might think it's two very different things, but in reality, marketing and finance are very similar. You're investing money to make money. That's what PPC does. That's what digital marketing does. You're investing money to make money in finance. So it's a very similar approach. You're just buying different things. Marketing is a little bit more complicated because you actually have control of the whole funnel. So you need to determine what happens after that click, right? So eventually I decided to get into PPC because I felt for finance, I would have needed way more expertise to be able to do something meaningful. The first 6 months were a whole struggle. I tried to advertise hotels in Italy to be able to bring tourism over there. I felt the fact that I knew the American market and the Italian market would have helped. Didn't work out, didn't make a single client in 6 months. And then I decided to start working for American clients at $1 per hour. I offered my services for 3 months at $1 an hour with a promise to increase my payout should things have worked out. Things worked out. I grew very rapidly with American clients, and eventually I got to the point where I wanted to move to the most competitive market in the world, which was the United States. At that point, I made an investor visa, opening Zebra Advertisement in the US, and that process started, let's say, I think it was like 9 years ago. It took 6 months, moved the company here. And eventually, 5 years ago, I was able to apply for an O2 visa, which is a special business abilities visa, which gave me a green card. And eventually, in a couple of years, I will be a citizen. So that's how Zebra Advertisement came to be, guys. Long story short.
That's a great story. Thank you so much for sharing. and it's going to make for an excellent deconstructing data conversation. So we'll just get right into it. Our first topic is first-party data and maximizing first-party data in particular. So the topic that we'd planned was learn how to harness your data for personalized customer experiences and increased ROI. So you're coming at us.
The better name would be you better learn how to harness your data.
Yes, let's go with that one. Can you kick us off on that one?
Yeah, you better learn because you don't not gonna have any other option. With all the privacy law hitting the market, cookieless tracking coming into place, in Europe is actually hitting companies even harder. The only way to really jumpstart your performance is to use your own data. Now, many people might think that this is a step back. I thought that the first time I heard about it, but it is actually a step forward. I have noticed that using your own data will train the platforms to deliver the better targeting, better performance for the accounts. The big question that many people are debating about is not about large companies. Large companies have data. Uploading that data is not a problem. The big question is what happens to small players in the market, because I'm assuming that a lot of the companies out there, they're middle or small companies, and they're going to have a problem having enough data to feed to the platforms. And that's where I would like to focus the answer on. You do not need to necessarily have a lot of data. You need to be smart about the data you want to use. So for example, let's think that you are an e-commerce brand. Initially, your first party data might not be many purchases, but you can use initiate checkouts to identify who the people that you want to target are. If you're a lead generation business and you want to focus on customers, well, maybe you need to wait and use the leads first or qualified leads before using the actual customer data. And this is an exercise that doesn't require too much data, because as long as you have enough for the platform to start doing a better delivery, things will progressively get better. And I always tell people it's the same problem with a pixel, because when you have a pixel at first, that pixel is going to be quote unquote empty. Your first party data at first will be quote unquote empty, right? So it is not going to be as big of a challenge as many people predict. It's just a different way to do the same thing. Actually, all the businesses that I have transitions to first party data, they're doing better than before. Now the question is, how do you do that? Well, you need to learn how to use customer match on Google. You need to learn how to upload custom audiences on Facebook, or you need to work with companies like PDEX that can help you put the pieces of the puzzle together. But it is definitely something that is not going to require much training. It is just going to require willingness to learn a different way of doing new things. I've been in PPC for the past digital marketing, so to say, for the past 16 years. Many things have changed and many things will keep changing. It's just about evolving with the market.
Great points.
Yeah, and I think along with that, Rocco, is consistency, right? So it's not just the willingness to learn, but being consistent and patient, maybe even at times, as you aggregate that data and start to lean into it.
Yep.
Question for you, like we hear about using first party data. I feel like that's such a buzzword in the industry, and it has been for a really long time. And so, for some of our listeners or companies that are out there that might feel like they're a little behind the ball and they don't really know how to leverage first party data or what that really looks like from a tactical, actionable standpoint, where would you recommend somebody start?
Well, the majority of people usually prefer to advertise on Google. So I'm going to give you guys the Google example. Make sure to go in your CRM. If you do not have a CRM, create an Excel file, put the data in there. But I highly recommend as a first step to get set up on a CRM, because it is a place where your data is going to be gathering for you without you lifting a finger. From that point on, Google has had first party data for, I think, at least 6 years, more or less. I don't remember exactly when they launched the customer match. Customer match is an option when you can upload an Excel file, or if you have a good developer, you can do an API integration. It uploads for you. And that is going to create a list of people that you consider something, depending on what you upload. It could be purchases, leads, it could be your friends and family. Now, the list of data, you add it to a campaign as an observation mode. This is going to tell Google, these are the people I want to target. These are the kind of people I want to target. The platform is going to find users that when they search, they are as similar as possible to the users in your first-party data. So it's very simple. Just start from collecting that data. So if you do not have a CRM, get a CRM. If you have a CRM, segment your users into different categories. Just start thinking of your users in monetary value, meaning for me, a sales qualified lead is worth $200. A marketing qualified lead is worth $100. Somebody that I quote is worth $400. Start thinking of that and create the breakdowns. That's probably the fastest path.
That makes a lot of sense. What are some ways that you've seen, first party data really kind of play into this whole personalization side of marketing?
Well, I feel with first party data is something that is not gonna quote unquote play into personalization of advertising. If you were not personalizing your ads, you're probably 5 years behind the curve, because something as simple as remarketing, this is use of first party data. Something as simple as targeting your add to cart abandoners, that's the use of first party data. So what really means right now is that it's a different way of calling something that we have done for years. And for example, when you do email marketing, that's first party data. You're using your own data to do email marketing, right? It's all about those segmenting. That is nothing new. It's been around for a while. The only difference is that now that data is going to be used to optimize your campaigns. That's why it becomes way more important. And that's probably why they gave a different name to something we have been using for quite some time.
Yeah. Makes sense. So I guess what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like for people that haven't gotten started or maybe don't know where to get started, taking that first step is sometimes the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
It's not as complicated as maybe lots of folks in the industry, or a lot of the kind of buzzwords that we hear and see in articles today maybe make it sound or make it seem to be.
Of course, they can use, for example, when we were talking before the live, you guys, where we were discussing about the importance of the work that you guys do. That comes into play when you want to get extremely focused on the segmenting and the offering, and that's something that doing by yourself is gonna be too much of an undertake for a company most of the times, unless they have a great in-house team, right? But to get the basics done right, that you can do yourself. If you want to get it to the next level, that's when you get some help. And I feel that many people believe using first-party data alone is next level, which is not. You just need the time to research and do some readings.
Definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I really liked what you said about, if you're just getting started with personalization, you're about 5 years behind. And it's so true, because really, it's like you want personalization, of course, but you also want relevance. And so getting more data on your first party data to make sure that whatever you're asking them when you're reaching out or when you're marketing to them is actually relevant to them, or even on a platform where they exist. So speaking of, quality data, this sort of gets us into our next topic. When we have good data, we can feed it to things like AI and machine learning. And most people think of AI, right? Like a ChatGPT, but you can also use AI to target your audiences. But our topic here is, discover how these technologies are revolutionizing data analysis and decision-making in marketing. Could you?
I don't know if I can make a name of a company, which is one of my clients. So for now, I will not make it. But this is like something that I've been working on for a year now, where the fact that you have data available is good. Now, using that data in real time is very hard thing to do, because you don't have enough hours and enough people to analyze that data. But in addition to that, there is so much of the data that you're going to miss something. So the way AI, which is again not a new term, artificial intelligence, has existed for years, Artificial intelligence is going to help you identify trends and make adjustments to campaigns based on those trends. I was working with a very large company not too long ago with this client of mine, and we noticed that they, through the use of AI, that they had the highest ROAS during the times of the day where they had the lowest investment in terms of marketing. And what we did through AI, we used something called the seasonal adjustment, which is a feature that Google has, usually for businesses that have seasonalities, to take away budgets for some hours of the day with lower ROAS and allocate it to hours of the day with higher ROAS. They increased their ROAS by 20% overnight by doing that. So AI is simply not an enemy of people. Many people believe with AI, my job is going to become redundant. No, your job is going to become strategic rather than manual. I don't want to do search term reports every day. I want a machine learning to tell me what I need to focus on in that search term report. It saved me 2 hours to work with my client on strategy. So it is elevating the quality needed to become a marketer, because as of now, anybody can be a marketer, anybody can start a campaign, but not anybody can strategize, not everybody can scale up businesses. So maybe if you say so, it is making the market better for companies, because only people that actually can be a marketer will be a marketer, by eliminating all the redundant work that there is no need for somebody to do manually. AI is doing that. It's just enhancing the work of somebody. And I've been using AI probably for 10 years, because why do I need to let the client pay for my time when I'm doing something that is completely irrelevant in terms of long-term performance? I want to do strategy. With that said, another thing that AI and machine learning are helping businesses with is identifying opportunities and issues way sooner, because you can analyze much more data, do predictions, and also look at trends in a way that you couldn't before. And that's also key, because time is in the essence in a business that lives like finance. It lives live. It's not something that you can stop and look at. It moves fast, and competitors are moving fast. So you need to move as fast as your competitors. And I would like to conclude with something that it's a funny phrase that I heard when the car was first created. The biggest critique to the car was that horses will get you to a place the same way as a car does. But I don't see many people riding horses in Fort Lauderdale today.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the police has a few horses, actually. They go downtown with those.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I loved and agreed with everything you said regarding AI and machine learning. It's here to make us smarter and not take away our jobs.
Yeah, Rocco, you talked a little bit about using AI in like a predictive context. So I'm wondering, like, if you have any examples or if you've seen anything, as it relates to using predictive analytics to anticipate customer needs and preferences, and how that in turn is starting to kind of change how campaign strategy starts to take shape.
Yeah, there is actually a very good example that I can still bring with the same client I was talking about AI, because we were looking at a campaign from a very known company here in the US, and specifically we were looking at how that each campaign in each of their channels performed for a specific month. And for example, the first campaign was a search campaign, I think at a ROAS of maybe 1,500%. The clearance campaign at a ROAS of 500%, more or less. And then they had another campaign with a ROAS of 700%. So the marketing team of the client was fairly enough budgeting toward the campaign with higher ROAS. We looked into their data with machine learning and AI, and we did a predictive analysis of what that ROAS of that campaign in this month will be 12 months from now, looking at 5 years of data. Turns out that the clearance campaign within 12 months, that 500% would have become a 3,500%. The 2,000% would have become a 2,300%, and the 700% would have become a 2,500% from repeat buyers. So we're like, why should you not allocate more budget to clearance. You're going to make a lower ROAS in month 1, but in 12 months, you are literally multiplying your money by a value of 6.5. And that changed their game. Like, they now started to use what we call a predictive lifetime ROAS bidding strategy. And that changed completely the way they're looking at their marketing. And that's possible only through AI. There is no way a person can do this analysis every day to make sure it updates and the bidding strategies are changed accordingly.
Mm.
Wow, that's a great example.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other success stories that you could share with us on that note?
In terms of AI, there are plenty, you can use. But a typical example would also be understanding, to give an example, how did a specific promotion performed, and you have data, let's say Excel files. I have a client that has sent probably in the last 5 years, I wouldn't say 2,500 emails, and they had a way to categorize those emails using like a code, and this code was including every single type. For example, sad content with let's say this photo and this kind of call to action, and that file was a monster. It was like very hard to analyze. So when I jumped on board with them, the first thing I wanted to do is a strategic change of what kind of goal we should have had for the business. That goal was to increase the amount of recurring sales rather than one-time sales. And they were selling, I think, around maybe $60,000 a month in one-time sales and $3,000 a month in recurring sales. With that said, first thing we did is we looked at those emails and we ran those emails through AI because it was too much to analyze. It was impossible. They weren't even, all the data was in a row, not in columns either. We identified the topics that were working the best. Then we segmented data based on people that bought only one time, people that bought more than one time the product, and we started to create customized emails using the categories that perform the best with the best call to actions to try to do recurring sales, transform the one time in recurring. And then we started modifying the website to include those categories on the product page to generate recurring sales. I've been doing that for a year for them, and the 3,000 now became a 40,000. So instead of making $3,000 a month recurring, they're making $40,000 recurring. Their one time is around now 50,000. So the trade-off worked great, and their recurring is growing 20% per month. So that was only possible with that analysis. I wouldn't have been able. I would probably still a year later still working on that Excel file.
You talked a little while ago about how companies that are just now starting to get into personalization are like 5 years late to the game. I would argue that companies that don't soon start to adopt AI and machine learning capabilities and strategies are going to find themselves in the same boat. So I guess my question for you, based on your experience, again, if I'm a company or a business just kind of starting to dip my toe in leveraging AI and machine learning to make strategic campaign and marketing decisions, what are some of the like macro and micro level indicators that I should be looking at and evaluating to really kind of measure the impact that AI and machine learning are having on my marketing efforts?
Yeah, I would say, like, I don't know, Adam, do you like, for example, Indianapolis or NASCAR?
Sure.
Like, the racing. Would you go race a NASCAR car with a bicycle and bet your house on that? No, right? Like, you would never outrun a car.
Right.
So the question is not what AI could help my business with. You need to use AI, period. Because otherwise you're going to run in a bicycle the Indy 500. However, the real question is what stage am I at, and what kind of AI would benefit me the most now? Because at the beginning of a company, or when a company is still small, you probably don't need a full-fledged, super-powered AI to run your marketing efforts. Maybe what you might need is an AI that helps you write ad copy, an AI that helps you analyze Excel files, which is probably what ChatGPT can really easily do for you with the premium version. Now, as you grow the company, these needs change, and that's when you need to analyze it on a case-by-case basis. But the world is moving too fast, and AI is supporting businesses so much that without using AI, you are really shooting yourself in the foot. I would say it's not a question of when, if to use it, it's a question on when should I start using it, and it's probably the answer is yesterday in most cases.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. And what you need for AI and machine learning is, well, machine learning is another form of AI, is quality data to feed it. So they really go hand in hand, both topics we've covered. And going off of that, our third topic is focused primarily on B2C tactics. So, we work with a lot of consumer B2C companies. And so we're curious, if you could uncover the secrets to decoding consumer behavior and boosting engagement from what you've learned, Rocco.
Yeah, when it comes to consumer behavior, one of the things that I can tell people is let's forget about AI for a second and let's think about common sense for a second. Before getting into data analysis, you need to be able to be true to yourself and make sure you will be buying your own product or service. Typical example, I had a sales call with a supplement brand, and I refused to take them on board because the brand was new and they were having an outrageous price. I was like, why would I need to pay for this product so much just because you think it's good? Show me it's good. Build your audience, right? So the first step toward understanding consumer behavior is to think as yourself being a customer and understand how you yourself will behave in a certain situation. Make sure to take the time to maybe interview potential customers, learn from them. Because when you don't have data, when you're about to start a company or when you're start to selling a new product or service, you need that human touch. As I said, AI won't replace people. With that said, though, you're gonna get to the point where data is gonna be needed to be able to grow your business, and that's when you can start using some strategies. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this live, I really am a big fan of step-by-step approach. You do not have enough sales, go a step back, add to cart, or initially checkout. You don't have a customer yet, use the lead that you're generating. But more importantly, at that stage, you most likely will need a lot of data analysis too. Because no matter how big or small or how much you spend in your company, analyzing data is going to tell you a lot about what is going on with your business. It could be as simple as a search term report analysis or as complex as trend analysis. But then now that you have the data, how do you use that data again? And that's where the strategic component I mentioned earlier comes into place. Are you going to have different campaigns based on the stage your customers is at? Are you going to integrate it with email marketing? Are you going to create an omni-channel strategy? But long story short, the first thing that many businesses tend to forget, also when they are 10 years in business selling millions of dollars, is they forget that the person that is buying from you is an actual human being. And as an actual human being, there is a consumer behavior that influences the purchase. There are competitors on the market. So the answer sometimes is taking a step back and understand what the needs of your customers might be. And it might sound easy, but it is not as easy. But the easiest way to do it is to think as yourself being that customer. It's a very hard exercise to depersonalize yourself and put yourself in somebody else's shoes, but it will really work.
That's a really great point. Build something that you need. It could be a great approach to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I've heard, sort of people are talking about, just in the age of social media, instead of building the product first, maybe build the audience first. Like you said, get data from the audience as you build the product. But yeah, no, it's a really interesting take. So with all of that, like, how would you say, with what you've learned in terms of consumer behavior, how can marketers go increase engagement?
That's a very interesting question, because engagement, it might take some time. So the first thing that I invite people to do is to create value rather than always selling, selling, selling. For example, today you guys are doing this live with me, and your goal hasn't been one time to sell your product. You don't have a banner, a discount code. You never mentioned any of that. What you're doing is telling people in your network once a week or once every 2 weeks. I don't know how often you guys do the episodes. You are providing value that people can listen in, digest it. If they like something, they can apply it the next day when they go to work. That's creating value. So creating engagement goes beyond the simple sale. And many companies forget that. I believe when I went in college, one of the numbers that stuck in my mind was that users need to be exposed to a brand 6 to 7 times before purchasing. But that doesn't mean buy, you get to 6 times buy, they buy. It means first they search maybe for a makeup brand, then they go read the reviews on Amazon, and then they look up on Reddit what they're saying about your brand, and then they look on Instagram, your Instagram profile. Now you're understanding how this person is becoming familiarized with your brand. So the more value you provide in that process, the easier it is to close the sales after the 6-7 times you've been exposed to a brand. And I feel that's the number one rule of engagement: is to not sell, provide value.
Absolutely. It's such an important point. We always want to talk about product and features, but we've got to, we're here to solve problems and pain points. It's such a good point. What would you say on that, Adam?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a recurring theme that we hear all the time.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I appreciate you mentioned that. And, as you were saying, we're not sitting here plugging anything. I'm like, well, you haven't waited till the end because we do have a plug. But not just kidding. But before we get to the end, we have to make sure that we ask about your tech stack, because this is something that we ask all of our guests who come on Deconstructing Data. And that is like, what are some of your favorite tools that help make you and your teams, multiple teams, more efficient?
I'm gonna avoid all the obvious ones because you guys know everybody's using them. As I was mentioning earlier, one of my clients that I do speaking engagement for, actually, they created this AI tool to manage campaigns on a channel. They basically optimize bidding, budgeting, modifiers, search term report with an interface the customer can choose whether to apply a change or not. And that was to me like a great tool because it's super easy to use, but at the same time, it was allowing businesses to really focus on strategy rather than managing accounts across Meta, Google, Pinterest, Twitter, and losing time into tasks that are not really bringing the business forward. And that's a one technology that before they became my client, I asked them to use their platform for 6 months. I was like, I'm not going to go all over the US to talk in conferences about your company if I don't know it works. And man, I was happy. My time spent in an account decreased by 70%, and the results increased. And that was simply, it's a 15 years old technology that's not created with the ChatGPT frenzies, but that was for sure the one technology that I never speak about my clients giving names, but they really impressed me. They really impressed me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. We appreciate. I don't think anyone's ever mentioned. What was the name of the tool?
The tool is called Shirofune, Shirofuna. They're a Japanese company. Fun fact, they came into the Japanese market 15 years ago. I couldn't believe it, and I asked them to check the numbers. They own 91% of the software market for PPC in Japan.
Oh, wow.
91%. That's a humongous number. And I was shocked. So I'm helping them to expand in the US. I'm going to go to New York next month, Boston in August, LA in September. We have a lot of conferences that we are representing them for.
Oh, cool. That's really awesome. Well, thank you for sharing them. No one's ever mentioned them before. And since we have 9 minutes left, I guess we have time for a quick post-topic question, if you don't mind, Rocco. Um, if you could go back to when you first came into, we'll say, the advertising industry, what is the number one piece of advice you would give yourself?
My number one piece of advice is to make sure that you actually go above and beyond marketing, because marketing on its own does not work unless you know how businesses operate, unless you don't know how sales operate within a business, if you do not know how to manage a business very well, if you have no idea about supply chain, if you have no idea about web development. So marketing, although is just one department within a business, is the one department everyone else depends on when it comes to actually selling in a business. But it also means that you need to know how the rest of the business operates and how to optimize it, because if there is a problem in sales, because for example, many times you speak to a client that has never advertised and they say, you get me a lead, I know how to close it. Well, it's very different to get a lead referred by client and closing it than to get a completely new lead, fresh leads for digital marketing and closing it. So now you need to be able to train the client on closing that lead, or you need to train the client on the best way to organize the supply chain if there is a problem in supply chain, or simply being able to understand if there is a problem in supply chain. So marketing, if you want to do it well, it really requires you to almost be that client fractional CEO to be able to identify those issues and improve their business. Otherwise, 70% of your clients are going to fire you within 6 months because they're not able to identify the problem, and they're going to blame it on marketing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I see you nodding, Adam. I think that resonated with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good one. And kind of going off of that, are there any lessons you've learned along the way from, past experiences or all your current experiences that you think everyone could benefit from?
The one experience that I think is very important is to think 10 times before speaking. Whenever you are in a conversation, you should not just jump to conclusion. You need to take the time to make sure you form your opinion and give your statement. Although it might seem obvious, actually this is going to help you make much more valuable inputs in a conversation, and it is going to help to be perceived at a much higher level than just giving the quickest answer you can think of. So think before acting 10 times.
Think before acting. Yes, that's really great advice. Everybody can definitely use that one. It doesn't matter what your role is on that one. And finally, any secret tips or tricks you can share with our audience to sort of prepare us for the future of data in advertising?
Never assume you know everything. There is always something that you can learn from. And when it comes to data, just don't expect that you are the best at what you do. Always think there is somebody better. This is gonna give you the drive to be humble about AI, about data, and actually learn it. And it is going to make sure that you are not going to fall back. So always think there is somebody that knows more than you, and you're never gonna fail at learning.
I love that one. Always be learning. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a really good one. Be a lifelong learner. Well, that's really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And in closing, Rocco, would you like to tell listeners, anything else about any of your businesses, or also could you please tell them how they could reach you if they wanted to after the show?
Yeah, most of my businesses are boring, so if you guys want to learn more about them, you can go on my LinkedIn. My name is down there. My middle name is Alberto, but I don't think there is any other Rocco Baldassarre out there. Probably there are, but not on LinkedIn maybe. And I would say if you have any questions about anything, just feel free to reach out. But of course, if you guys are looking to help with data, the expert are the guys that are hosting me, definitely not me.
Oh, well, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And audience members, before we go, we invite you to get powered by BDEX. And I'm going to put a QR code up on the screen for anyone watching on video. You can head over to our website by scanning the QR code. But we want to help you build authentic connections with your audience and drive unprecedented engagement, like we were talking about earlier. So just imagine harnessing this power of AI to craft your audiences and use your first party data to do so, and craft audiences that actually resonate with your brand and are relevant to those people. So we want to help bring you closer to your marketing goals, and we're eager to guide you. So just simply visit bdex.com. If you're listening on podcast, or if you're on video, you've got the QR code there. You'll want to click on the talk to an expert button, and who knows, maybe you'll get Adam. But we want to help you get powered by BDEX. And for those of you who are curious about deconstructing data, we are open to sponsorship opportunities. We've got all of our data on our viewership ready, and we're just an email away if you're curious. So just send us an email, and then also you can email us if you know anyone you think should be a guest on the Deconstructing Data podcast, and we'd love to bring them on. Just reach out to us at info@bdex.com and share your qualitative data with us so we can make this better for you. And thank you so much, Rocco, for coming on last minute. And same for you, Adam. Thanks for stepping in after your red-eye flight.
No, this has been great, Rocco. Thanks for a wonderful conversation, and Jesse, as always, thanks for hosting us.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.